And now, more Utalk. Now.
Hey, it's been a while. There has been so much going on, and it's just, there's so much chaos and so much pain and so much hurt and just unrest. And we thought it would be good if we had a conversation about racism, about the national and actually international unrest, and how can we be the change? We don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the problem, the issue. We all know what, kind of in general, we know that's multi-layered. We know that it's complex. But guys, I think you both know that I was able to go to a protest a couple blocks away from the office, downtown, central really. City Hall was there. The courthouse was there. The police were there in great force. There's probably 100 that were protesting. They had marched down the center of town, got to this spot, mainly young adults, which actually was kind of cool for me because, we want our audience to know that we're not just sitting in the distance. We actually get down to ground zero as much as we can so we can find out what's going on. My whole point in going there was to listen and to learn. I didn't, believe it or not, I really didn't talk a whole lot. I did a lot of listening.
Steve, you didn't talk a whole lot?
Right? Well, I know. Can you guys believe it? No, seriously, it was an interesting time. The protesters were surrounded by riot police. I actually went up to them. I had kind of an official Utalk all access badge on. I had something that made me look more official and said, hey, can I come in and I want to interview some people. I'm from Utalk. And the officers were very gracious. And they said, go ahead, do whatever you want to do, but understand something. If this gets violent, if it goes south, we can't guarantee your safety or anything else. So had a chance to interview two guys, two girls, Connor, Melinda, Jasmine, and Preston. And Preston was actually the main speaker, if you will have it, at this particular protest. He was from out of town and very well prepared. But I was glad I had a chance to talk with him. But you guys had a chance to listen to those. Frankly, was it new to you guys what you heard, or was it something that you kind of expected?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all completely new, but it was great to hear people in the moment, I think, responding to what was going on a few weeks ago. So a little bit closer to when all the incidents happened with George Floyd and, some of the, and it was more raw and fresh. And I think the danger of any type of movement that you want to change is that after a while you move on to the next thing in the news cycle, and all of a sudden you're concerned about all these allegations about different celebrities now, or whatever. So these are the conversations that need to keep happening and not just be a fad. Yeah, no,
it's interesting. Connor was the first one that I interviewed, happened to be Caucasian. What I liked about him, he was, again, very straightforward. And he also said, hey, make sure you interview other people, interview people of color. I said, hey, it's all about doing that. And I kept telling each one of them, hey, I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn. Why is it so important for you to be at this protest? And what can we do? What ideas do you guys have about being the change? Connor, hey, vote, which is good. It's important, certainly.
And for our podcast audience, we're going to hear the clip from Connor right now.
Connor, why are you here today?
I'm here because for too long, the police department has been militarized to murder black people, brown people, and indigenous people, and other people of color all over the country. And there's been little to no justice. 99% of police officers who murder people who are unarmed do not receive the justice that they deserve by going to prison.
Wow, this is a huge issue.
Yes.
What do we do? I mean, there's so much that needs to be done. How do we as individuals become the change? What can we do?
Firstly, I think that right now is a beautiful movement where almost all of the world is standing up for Black Lives Matter, and black people in general all over the world saying that the oppressive governments need to stop murdering them in cold blood. So right now is a wonderful time to keep the pressure up, to be going to movements, protests here and keeping the pressure and speaking directly to the cops and letting them know that what they're doing is wrong and that they should be standing with the protesters here. And in the grand scheme of things, the police need to be defunded and abolished.
And what else can we do as individuals? Okay, if all of that happens, what can you and I do to be the change?
Just be here, be on the front lines, show support, and actually put yourself out there on the front lines and defend black people and people of color who will be hurt more than I would be. As a white person, they would be hurt on the front line. So I feel it's my responsibility to be here and put myself on the front line because of that.
And when I turned off the mic, it was kind of cool. He says, hey, dude, mad love to you for what you're doing and who you guys are. He said, I love it, which is very cool because that's what we want. I mean, we want mad love, of course, but we want that assurance that we're striking, where we need to strike. We're there where we need to be. I believe the next one I interviewed was Melinda.
So my name's Melinda, and the reason I'm here today is because, Black lives do matter, and unfortunately right now a lot of people don't see that. And that's why we really enhance that Black Lives Matter. We never said that only Black Lives Matter. We never said that. So I don't know why people are so sensitive to that. A lot of people are saying Blue Lives Matter because they feel like they're in danger, but, we could approach them with the same topic. Why aren't you saying Firemen Lives Matter? Why aren't you saying EMT Lives Matter?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing, same thing. We are not saying only Black Lives Matter, but right now they are the ones that need the help the most. So that's the reason I'm here, because at the end of the day, the only 12% of the population is African American. If you want your voice heard, you need a bigger percent than that. I was also always taught growing up that you need to stand up for the underdog.
Okay.
And you need to stand up for people that look like they need help.
Sure.
And I'm actually here without my parents knowing right now because they're conservative.
Okay.
And I've seen too many people getting kicked out of their homes because they want to protest. But the reason I'm here is because I find a lot of hypocrisy in the system and the way that we teach people. My parents always told me to stick up for the underdog, but then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go stick up for the underdog. I'm going to go join the Black Lives Matter movement. And they're like, oh, no, not like that. Why not like that? What's the difference,
Yeah.
So I'm here just to educate. I'm here to be peaceful, and I'm here to protect because, there's too many times where black people are left by themselves in dangerous situations. So that's why I'm here.
How can you and I be the change? This has got to change, and it's a huge issue. But what's that first step? What can you and I do as individuals to be the change?
Well, individually, we can, speak about it and not shut down about it,
Okay.
We can do these things. If you can't come out, you can sign petitions. If you can donate. Literally just talk about it whenever you can. The next big step would, in my opinion, I think we need a system that puts the police in check. Our government has 3 separate branches to keep everything in check, but the police, they keep in check on themselves. So why is that,
Yeah.
It seems like we need something that keeps everybody in check the same way that our country is. So I think that maybe that would be something to look into. I'm not sure. A lot of people want to just completely throw away the police system. I'm not too sure how that would work out. It's kind of scary for me. The police have always been here, but at the same time, there's been times where there's been women in my family that have needed help, and the police just didn't really do much for them.
Oh.
So I'm not too sure. I'm not against or for either one in that sense, especially since I'm the one that's not targeted, so
Yeah.
I can't really speak too much about how they feel that we should fix the system.
Melinda happened to be Hispanic, and she had been all of them actually had marched down the center of town and all. And again, same type of thing. She said, hey, we got to vote. We got to support those organizations, which is good, certainly. And again, we want to emphasize, as Utalk, vote. If you are of the age to vote, let your voice be heard. It's a privilege. There's a lot of people in other countries that don't have the opportunity to vote. So let's take advantage of that. Then I moved over to another couple. I believe, actually, there's 2 couples staying next to each other. One was Caucasian, one couple, the other, I think, Hispanic. And when I went to the one couple, that I said, hey, guys, you talk, the same blah, blah, here's I'm listening, and ask you a couple of questions. The 2 couples standing next to each other, the one couple that I hadn't asked if I could interview them started screaming at me. And they're looking at the other couple going, don't trust him, you can't trust him. Don't do it. And I'm going, whoa, And then I looked at this couple, and they're kind of like, the head is down, and they're going, well. I said, it's cool. I let them off the hook. And I looked at the other couple, and I said, hey, guys, you don't even know me. They said, we know we can't trust you. That bothers me because I want to be trusted by our audience. And but I understand. I understand the moment that they were in. I understand the dynamics of what was going on.
You're a member of the hated press,
Yeah. Exactly.
I saw on the news, like some people were chucking water bottles at or worse, at some members of the press, which, I mean, I know we can debate that another time. But, it was a little dangerous being the press because people were just like angry,
Yeah, definitely. And, that's really the first time I've ever had that happen in a situation like this. But I get it. I understand it, Then I went over to Jasmine, and there was, I think she and 3 other girls there, 2 of them, herself and another African-American, and an Asian, and then somebody who was Hispanic. And the other three said, "Oh, we don't want to." But Jasmine just got right in there. She had a lot of good things to say. She was articulate. You could tell that she was a little bit more informed.
And we're going to hear from Jasmine on the podcast right now.
My name is Jasmine. I'm here to support the Black Lives Matter movement and the racial equality that we have in this country today. There's many black lives that have been taken due to police brutality, and there's a lot of racial inequality that's happening in this world today that needs to be changed, and the change starts within the community.
Thank you for taking the time and a stand. Now, one other question, Jasmine, if you don't mind. We're really big at Utalk about making a difference. Let's change the world. That's a big thing, and this is a big issue. Where do we start? How can you and I be the change? What are some first steps we can take?
The change starts within the community. It starts within your social platforms, because social media is really, really big nowadays. Mm-hmm. It starts within the people, and it starts within your heart. You can only change within yourself to help reflect it upon others. You see all these people out here. It don't have to be black. They don't have to be, you could be purple, blue, orange. But if you know what's right and you know what's wrong, and if you can support a cause that you know that affects millions of people right now, that just shows by one social media post, by one support, one being there, whether you're white, black, Asian, any ethnicity group. If we could stand together as one, we could show everybody that where the problem really lies within this whole issue.
She mentioned something that I think is critical. She said, "I think it has something to do with the heart."
That's a good.
It really is. It really is a heart issue, and I'm glad that she picked up on that. Now, the 4th interview was a guy named Preston, who was kind of I'm calling him the main speaker. I don't know if that's technically right, but anyway, he was the main speaker, well prepared, well spoken, and we're going to take a listen to him right now.
Preston, why is it important that you're here?
For a long time, I felt like I've been done wrong. I know not directly I've been done wrong, but I felt like my people have been done wrong, and that directly affects me. And I just feel also like, aside from just me, an injustice is happening. And there's no way you can just stand by and watch an injustice. Okay. Especially when you know you have the power to change something, to do something, to speak on it. If you choose to be silent in a time of oppression, you are taking the side of the oppressor. And I'm not just somebody who's going to put all that talking in and no action. I'm going to come out and I'm going to fight for it, because that's the only thing we really can do. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. You got to protest. You got to speak out. It's all we can do. No violence going to work. They the ones with the guns. I don't got no gun. I don't got no baton, no pepper spray, no tear gas, no tasers. I don't even got protection. I don't got no shield, no bulletproof vest. I just recently got some steel-toe boots for my work. So all I really can do is voice. That's it. And just hope that one day somebody hears me and they seek change and they act on it. The same way that I'm acting on it, they act on it. We both see it, that something is wrong here, and we both work to finally fix it, as it's been missed so many times in our history.
Preston, thanks. Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing your heart, okay, and for letting me talk to you and for being here today. We're really big, Utalk, on changing the world, and that's a big thing. This issue is huge. There is no way to excuse what has happened. There is no way to, like with George Floyd and others recently. But what can we do? What can you and I do to be the change? Where can we start this change?
You can start it right now by addressing first off the situation. You say to yourself, okay, are black people in America right now being treated in a fashion that you don't believe is proper? That's the first thing you ask yourself. If you answer to that question, you say, yes, congratulations, you have chosen the side of not being the oppressor. Then you finally say, okay, what can I do? Then you look and you see that there are protests going on, peaceful protests in the area. You research your local city representatives and take action within your own city to get the people in there who want to actually change things for you. You donate if you can, or find out ways to add financially maybe to the movement. You just really search for anything you can do. You fight for it. Because you really believe in something, you're going to fight for it. You're going to find something to do. And that's just where it starts. And then you have kids right now, you teach them that things are wrong and they should not be going down this way. You teach them about George Floyd. You teach them about Trayvon Martin. You teach them about Ahmaud Arbery. You teach them about Sandra Bland. You teach them about all of us. And you let them know, are you going to be the person to finally say that this ends with my generation? Is that going to be you? Is that going to be your children? Those are all the things that you can currently do. And until that happens, we're going to be right here fighting forever, if it takes forever. Because it's already been 400 to 500. If it doesn't end of the century, we're pushing to 600 years of oppression, and it needs to stop eventually.
Thank you, Preston.
It was interesting because he was kind of a different persona when he and I were talking. He was very gracious, but he was a very different person than when he was up, kind of in front of this crowd. And happened to be a student at I won't name the college, but at a Southern California, Cal State College. Mother owned a media company, well-versed, and I think he was pushing more even for a revolution than just change. He didn't use that word, but you could sense that. You could sense some...
Yeah, I think he was really wanting to tear down the systems that have been in place for so long. And I think that's how a lot of people have been feeling, especially if they felt like they've been mistreated or not given a fair shake, in whatever current systems, whether it's the police, whether it's the government, there was a lot of institutions, so to speak, that I think he was really kind of, angry at. And I think in general, like you said, there was kind of variety in all these responses of the people that you talked to. And, a lot of people were upset and they were, angry at the injustices and really wanted to do something about it. So, that's what we want to talk about today is again, what are those next steps, right? Because I think we can all post things and we can all hashtag things, but at the end of the day, after the rallies and the protests disperse, what do we do next?
Exactly. And I could sense that in that group of young adults, because a lot of them were there, and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, kind of along, it was a place to be.
Like their friends were there, and so they were there too, because it was a thing to do.
I had a lot of friends that went, and all of them were on social media, come on guys, let's go together. And let's do this together, and it's like the cool thing to be at.
And since it was a couple of weeks ago, people were so used to being cooped up and the stay-at-home mandate and all of that kind of stuff. So, but you could sense just looking at their body language and all, they were there. It was a cool thing to do and all that, but there was still that sense of what can we do to change? What can we do to be a part of this? And of course, Katie, what's one of our big mantras, if you will, have it about change with Utalk?
Steve's always mad. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? I'm sorry. You asked Katie. Never mind.
He is always mad, but I don't think that kind of mad we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
No, but we like to go mad, aka making a difference here, which is a very good thing that we always like to get our followers and listeners and everyone to do.
It's about changing the world. It's about seeing significant change. Sometimes I like to use the word transformation. So, guys, do you have some ideas of some starting points? And, of course, this is just starting points. We could really talk about this, I think, for several shows.
Well, I think a lot of people need to educate themselves. Yeah. Like you said, it's great to show up. It's great to post something on social media or hashtag something. But I think it's, besides just a meme, to go deeper. And, I've been trying to share articles about some things, whether it's historical or about films. Like, I watched the movie Just Mercy the other day. Oh my gosh, it's being streamed free all throughout June. If you haven't seen Just Mercy, it's online for free. There's a bunch of other films, on Netflix, like 13th, and that really kind of encapsulate some of the injustices that have been in the system. And in those particular examples, the 13th and Just Mercy, it's about the incarceration and legal system, in our country. And so those are things to educate, but that's only one aspect, right? Like of this whole issue. And so, and also, I think a lot of people are maybe getting their news just from reading things on Instagram or on TikTok or Twitter. And I think you really need to go deeper and reading news articles from reputable news organizations, and not just one news organization, but a wide range, because I think people start to feed into the, if people are like, yay, Black Lives Matter and down with police completely, let's get rid of them all, they all deserve to die. And then, you don't want the extreme either of, what racism? There's no racism. I mean, and those are the two extremes. And I think trying to find, some of what's in it. You want to have objective journalism, but we know that doesn't completely exist, But you want to see some type of, variances of thought and kind of make up your own mind of what the solutions are. And there's a lot of answers. We're not here to necessarily tell you this is exactly what we don't have all the answers of how to solve racism and injustices in the world. We just want to give you guys some suggestions and, some tools to be able to go out and learn more about the things that you can do to make a change.
Well put, Larissa, because we don't have all the answers. We want to be listening, and we want to remind people, to our audience, that Utalk is all about you talking to us. So we do want to hear from you. I had a chance to talk to a buddy who's this huge researcher. I won't use his name, but he was reminding me, he said, we all need to, and he said, your audience, you, whoever, the other host for Utalk, he said, all of us collectively need to make sure that we understand the real issues. What are the real issues, instead of listening to all these different things on the extremes, as well as what are the facts? And I use the word manipulation. Maybe that's a little strong, but I think there's an awful lot of newsy and social media manipulation going on. And again, we're not knocking social media. It's a great tool. It's a tool for change. It really is, and we wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for social media. But find that balance. What's something else? What's another idea, Katie?
The big one is always the golden rule. Just respect everybody. Respect yourself. Respect everybody. Respect their opinions and everything you do. And Fact Girl is back tonight. We haven't had Fact Girl in a long time.
Fact Girl, welcome back, Fact Girl.
So, that's not FAT, by the way.
No.
Fact, FACT.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Research shows that only 19% of young adults believe life is sacred.
Ooh.
That's scary.
Yeah,
that.
Very scary.
Because how are you going to respect somebody else? And I'm going to jump in for a second, Katie, and kind of separate the golden rule from respect. It is part of it, but let's come back to the golden rule. This idea of respecting other people. Everybody, respect them. Respect them for who they are, that they're human. Respect them, that their life is sacred. Every life is sacred. And if you're talking 20%, only 20%, I mean, that means 80%. Is that right, Fact Girl? 80% do not believe life is sacred. Mm-hmm. Well, hello. No wonder the problems we're having.
Yeah, and I think when people don't see racism as an issue, I want to tell you something, because, whatever the audience is, something just happened to me this week where I had posted a meme, or not a meme, just a quote that said, "Save Black Lives," not too long after, the protests started happening. And I wrote something that was very diplomatic, kind of in line of what you were saying, is that, we have to do better as a society, and it wasn't meant to be political or anything. It was meant to just be justice for, this is, in my opinion, it was a clear case that something wrong, and most of the country, most of the world kind of agreed, something wrong happened here. No. This is not how, regardless of the race, and in this case, there was clearly a racial component, but there's something wrong here. We all got to do better. Like, and we need to see, justice in these cases. And so, and of course I hashtagged it justice for George Floyd, and somebody just this week, it's an old post, wrote to me some very racist comments to me. I'm Asian American. And, they were questioning like, oh, what justice? If you don't like it here, go back to your country.
Whoa.
I'm serious. And this was on my public page on social media. And it was like, it had nothing to do with me being Asian, right? Like, why am I disqualified? Or like now you want to kick me out? You want to kick everybody out? So, and I'm just going to assume this person was white. No offense to all the white people, but clearly they didn't agree with the stance of Black Lives Matter. And they didn't agree with the fact that I was Asian commenting and or like standing up for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I know that happens. But again, if like you are like, oh, but I treat everybody the same and everything's great. Well, that's awesome. So now you've got to be part of that change to help other people realize if you see people as a human being, then you need to help other people see other people as a human being.
As somebody who has a life that is sacred, that's valuable, and respect them. And agree to disagree. We're never going to all agree on everything. My mentor put it this way to me, and I love the conversation I had with him. He said, respect others in all things you do. Simple things, going to the store, whatever it happens to be, driving, having a conversation, respect that other person's opinion, but go deeper and say, I respect you as a human being. You have value. You are sacred. And because of that, I'm going to respect you. And Larissa, you and I talked about something, and Katie, you may have been in the conversation too, and I liked it, and I've heard this in other places as well. The idea of, my research friend put it this way. He said, relationships are so important in a situation like this, and he said, we have to be willing to allow others to get into the intimate spaces of our life. And he's not talking about physical intimacy, but what he's saying is, can I allow somebody else to come into my life and feel my pain?
Right.
Cries, and can I respect them enough to, when they let me into their life, to be able to, that is so huge, and just trying to understand and trying to learn. We need to learn from each other. And it always goes both ways. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because I know in some of the things I see being broadcast, and I know, again, there's a bias that our news, media has and everything else, but it goes both ways. We have to respect each other. We have to learn from each other. We have to be willing to let somebody into those private spaces though, in our lives, and know that we're not going to be like, I know you weren't doing that in a sense, but to be chided and in a sense verbally abused racially, like you just were for a post. It shouldn't be that way. And to me, it's so fun to learn about other cultures. And I know I'm not normal. You guys won't dispute that, but I've had the chance, Larissa, you too, Katie, to a degree, I believe, we've all traveled a lot. And, it's just, to me, fascinating when you're someplace else, but you can do it right here in our country, learning from other cultures.
Yeah.
And we can learn something from everybody. And, as my pastor has said, we're color blessed. And, it's really true. And you don't even have to, go very far. You don't have to go out of the country to be able to learn about other cultures. And I'll never forget, I was in New York City for meetings one time, and this guy was with us, I was going to say press guy, but he is, but I won't say that because that would make him look bad, but he was a good one. And he said, I got to take you to this Ethiopian restaurant. Have you ever had Ethiopian food? I'm going, no. Oh, he said, you're going to love it. It's great. It's great. So we go in there, and I was the entertainment in the restaurant that night, because in order to, the way they had things set up, there was a little short,
tables.
Table thing, little tiny chairs, and our audience may not know this, but I'm not a little guy. I'm a pretty big guy, and I guess it was quite a show to see me trying to get down and balance on that little chair. Yeah. But the food was magnificent. It was unbelievable. They had the special bread and it was what a
good
experience, and meeting the different servers and I'll never forget that. In fact, if I'm back in that part of the city, I want to go back there because it was fabulous. We're missing out. Okay.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
If you're not enjoying this, enjoying other cultures and stuff. So, okay, what else can we do, guys? Can we come back to the golden rule? Katie, you mentioned that because it really is connected to respect. But, guys, what is the golden rule?
Just treating everyone how you want to be treated. I just think...
No, wait. Now, I'm going to interrupt you. That's too simple.
You think it would be, but so many people, I'm just like, I see the way people treat others, and I'm like, you really want someone to do that to you? Why are you doing it to them? Like, it all goes back to, a lot of people don't see other people as human or that they have emotions and feelings. So I'm like, would you really want somebody saying that to you? Do you know how much havoc that's going to play on your emotions?
I should go to every white person and tell them to go back to Russia or to go back to Ireland.
Right?
If I want to be...
Whoa, you forgot my homeland.
Go back to Italy.
Actually, I want to go back.
Because apparently that's how people treat me, and so that's how I should treat other people, right?
Yeah,
no, you mean in a nice way, not in a mean way. Okay, I see.
I facetiously said it's too simple, but it isn't rocket science, folks. It's simple. Just think about how you want to be treated and treat the other person that way. It's simple. It just, and don't force it, because if we force it, then it's like, it's got to be organic. It's got to be from your heart. I guess maybe develop a caution light in your life. I don't know, that starts blinking if you're about to tear somebody down or treat them in a way that you don't want to be treated. It's so simple.
I think you could also, a lot of people don't really care, but if you look at it, and would you want a family member to be treated that way? Like, would you want your sister to be treated that way, your parent to be treated that way, your grandma to be treated that way? Does that bring a whole new aspect to, okay, well, I don't want them to be treated, I don't want someone doing that to them. I don't want to do that to someone else's, sister, grandma. Like, why am I going to do it then?
And isn't it, guys, the simple things too? Not being rude to somebody else. I don't like somebody treating me rude. And I know that sounds simplistic, but I think the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So if we can find these small steps to take, don't be rude. Be polite. Help somebody out. I'm constantly getting asked in stores, by short people and sometimes short elderly people, if I can reach something off a shelf for them, it's because I'm a big guy. Hey, I don't mind doing that. I'm a big guy. I can reach. It's, and I get the thank yous. And it's just kind of fun. I know we don't really have time to get into it tonight, but we've got the hashtag Goodbye to Mean campaign we've started. And that's really, let's stop being mean to each other. Let's treat each other with respect, with value. Everybody is valued, and let's treat them the way we want to be treated.
Yeah, it sounds so simple. If only the whole world could do that. Oh my gosh, we would solve every single problem, right?
I agree with you, Larissa, seriously. Imagine how different our world would be if we just all grabbed a hold of these things, and I think the more young adults I speak with and hear from, interact with, they want this change. They want a revolution. They want some serious change, and we need that. But you have to start someplace.
Yeah, and I think that's always the hardest thing is it's great to have these movements and these protests and, social media to kind of to make the issues known or to kind of vent your anger and your displeasure with what's like things you don't like, in the world. But the next step really has to be, changing hearts and minds through kindness, right? And as hard it is, loving your enemy is not easy, whenever, I mentioned the troll on my, recent post, but I responded with kindness, and that forced them to hopefully respond in kindness and also think this person might not be that bad. And maybe I shouldn't have been so hard on them. So It's a hard thing, but I think to live, like you said, Steve, treating people the way you would want to be treated.
And Larissa, I appreciate that. Good word. That's such a great example. It isn't easy to come back and be kind. You went out and have to constantly, like you said, think and say, wait a minute, what's the bigger picture? And that idea that you had too with, is there something that we can agree on? You know, and that's a big thing in bullying. And of course, that's not the topic tonight, but finding those things we can agree on, remembering we're going to disagree on some things. And one thing to agree on is better than nothing.
Right.
It's just, and it really, these are simple steps. These are simple ideas. And like you said, Larissa, this whole thing of a movement, I'm all about it. Movements are great, but let's bring it down to practical ground zero where we can really do something instead of walking away, kind of going from one high to the next. Oh, hey, there's a protest on this. Okay, I'm going to go over there. That seems kind of cool. Oh, there's a protest here. I'm going to go over here. You know, kind of, you know, I'm not saying that's what your friends are doing, but in a sense, Katie, they were saying, hey, this is a cool thing. Let's, you know, join me there.
And I'm fine with people like who maybe initially like their motivation might be shallow, but if they're there and they listen and they may be like, oh man, like this really is a thing, like that they're educated. Like I'm okay with that. Like it's okay. If their motivations were false in the beginning, but they become true believers, like I'm cool with that, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's learning. It's all about learning. Well, guys, I think we're coming to the end of our time. We could continue this discussion, and we will continue this discussion in different forms because it is truly important. And it's nice to have the three of us together, you know, for once. And we don't always get to do this, but it's nice to have Utalk time together and be able to share our thoughts and our experiences and have Fat Girl back with us. And I mean, that's such a powerful statistic. So I think we can be people of change by being people who are well-informed, well-versed, and then be able to share it, you know, in our spheres of influence, whatever that happens to be. And right now, a lot of that is at home because we're still on somewhat of a lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think this has been a great discussion, a lot of food for thought. We certainly want to hear from you guys if there are things that you're doing to help make a change. Let us know about that. For sure.
We're here for you. We want to be an encouragement. We want to be somebody that you can trust, and let's be the change together.
This is Utalk Radio.